Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to have a look at Snowflake's latest earnings that just came out as a Palantirian, and we're going to see if we should be worried as Palantir investors or we should be happy as Palantir investors. So as I said, we might be Palantards, we might be Palantirians. We're gonna see after the end of this video. So as always, if you like this content, please make sure you subscribe. The button is below that way, somewhere there. And if you want to go further and you want to support the channel, check out the first link in the description box below, where it takes you to our Patreon, where you get direct access to me and to all the valuations and stuff that we do. So before we begin, very important things to keep in mind. So Snowflake and Palantir is not apples to apples comparison. Think of Snowflake as the commercial division of Palantir. So they don't sell to the government. And Palantir only goes after gigantic customers, whereas Snowflake goes after way more. So they have a way more standardized solution that is suitable for smaller companies, whereas Palantir goes for very big companies. We're going to compare them in many other aspects too. So another very important thing is Snowflake is a 10-year-old company, whereas the commercial division of Palantir, which is Palantir Foundry, is about a 5-year company. So very important to keep in mind. So let's look at what the earnings were. Oh, again, one last thing. So obviously we think, if you think that Palantir is struggling, then you know what you want to see is also Snowflake struggling in their earnings, because that, shows you that sort of the whole industry or, the economy is bad. But obviously if Snowflake is doing amazing, then it's sort of like a red flag for why isn't Palantir doing as good. And when you think like this, you have to keep in mind that Palantir is only struggling with the government section, and the growth from Palantir is very strong still in the commercial section. So keep this also in mind. So, and let's look at the earnings. 83% year-over-year product revenue growth, fantastic. 171% net revenue retention, which is fan-fucking-tabulous. As I always said, I nibbled a little bit at a subscription business, and if you have over 100%, it's fantastic. This, I believe, is a down number for them. They had 174 the last quarter, so this is not a good sign. And when you compare this to Palantir's 120% net retention rate, I have to highlight both is fan-fucking-tastic. And keep in mind that Palantir's customers are, I believe Palantir's average customers pay them 8 or 9 million per year, whereas Snowflake has not very small, but smaller customers than Palantir. It's very easy to grow something, from $100,000 to $200,000, whereas obviously it's much harder to grow a customer from 8 million to 16 million. So just keep that in mind. I would say that here both numbers are fan-fucking-tabulous. 246 1 million plus product revenue customers. So here is where you see that all of Palantir's customers are basically more than a million, as far as I understand. Palantir has about 200 commercial customers in 5 years, and Snowflake has 246 1 million plus. This is the real apples to apples in 10 years. The non-GAAP product gross margin is 75%. Palantir's is 80%. Both is very high. So there is a bunch of mumbo jumbo here. So here we go. Annual revenue, 106% year-over-year growth from 592 million to 1.2 billion. That is fantastic. I mean, there's no two ways about it. The quarterly revenue grew 83%. I mean, I don't know what to say on that. Significant customer commitments. This is mumbo jumbo. Large customers. So here you see that they have 6,808 customers, and they make very similar revenue as Palantir. So this is something that is very interesting, that Palantir has 300 customers, including the government units, and I think they made more last year than Snowflake made on 6.8 thousand. So Palantir is somehow way better at capturing bigger fish, whereas Snowflake is really eating their lunch when it comes to smaller customers. And yeah, this is where you can see the big customers, 246. I mean, the reason why you're really happy to see this as an investor is because you don't have a customer concentration. So even if, like Palantir has maybe 20 customers that make for half the revenue of the company. And even if one of them cancels, it's such a significant loss for Palantir that it becomes, you have to think with this as an investor. So this is kind of good. Landing strategic customers. So this is Forbes Global 2000 customers. This is the fish that Palantir is going at. And they increased by 12 customers, which is 0.5% of the Global 2000 in a quarter. That's fantastic. And the fact that they have 500, they have a 25% penetration into this. So I have to give it to them. They're eating Palantir's lunch here a little bit. World-class retention rate. So here you can see that the retention rate is downtrending, even though this is effing high. I've never seen any subscription business. Even Palantir's 120% is freaking impressive. So not really a red flag. Improving gross margin, that is obviously very, very good. Focus on cash generation. So again, just like Palantir, they have an insane amount of stock-based compensation. I think in terms of the percentage of revenue, they have a higher stock-based compensation than Palantir. So if you hate stock-based compensation for Palantir, it sucks. It really sucks for Snowflake. So here's something that is very interesting for me. They have 4,000, almost 5,000 employees. And you can see that 2,417 is in sales and marketing. So half the company is just on selling the product. Whereas Palantir has about 3,000 employees and they have and they make almost the same amount of revenue as Snowflake makes with 4,900. And they have, I think, 48 fully trained salespeople as opposed to the 2,400. So that is nuts. Expanding internationally, yeah, they went from 4% to 5% in Australia and Japan. The Americas is still huge. This is very similar to Palantir and Mumbo Jumbo. So they still kept the same target. And this is the other thing. So Snowflake has more employees than Palantir, has about the same revenue. It has a higher growth rate, higher retention rate. But if you look at their 2029 target and you do your calculations, it's priced currently to perfection. The share price today was up 19%, by the way. So clearly it was a fantastic report. So, what else would the stock do? But they cost 2.5 times. So if you would want to buy Snowflake, it's 2.5 times Palantir for a little bit more growth, way more employees. I believe they have more stock-based compensation. I cannot get over the price of this stock. So, does this change my thesis on Palantir? In a way, yes, because I do believe Snowflake was a data cloud solution provider and they went into analytics, whereas Palantir started with business analytics and then they sort of have to offer, this data storage solution. So they went they ended up in the same place, even though I'm not sure that was the plan. So I don't think that Palantir has the same kind of moat that they have had before. So I'm going to do some calculations. I'm definitely not selling my Palantir shares based on this. And again, these are fantastic numbers, but when you make apples to apples comparison with Palantir, they're not doing so much better than Palantir. Obviously, as Palantards, we would be very happy if Palantir would be up 19% today, but it didn't happen. Anyways, thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.